What do you like most about teaching?
Um, what do I like most about teaching? Um, I teach economics, and economics is a very tough subject. And it is, if you ask students, most of them say this is a dismal science. So it's quite difficult to teach economics, or it's very difficult for students to understand this complex, subject. So I would love when I see the light on my students, and when I see them understanding of this complex issue, that's a great pleasure that's what I like about teaching.
What do you like to see in your students?
Uh, what do I like to see in my students? Of course, as a professor, I would love my students to be successful, and then and hopefully that actually they can pursue their dreams. And I want them to to figure out who they are and what they are good at, and what is their competitive advantage. And that's what I want to see.
What do you do in your free time?
If I do have a free time, I would love to. I like to read, and I like to listen music. Especially, I like to listen Turkish music. And I have 2 children, and I would love to. I'm actually spending some time on my free time. I would like to spend some time with my kids. And when I have free time, I like to, exercise. And I like CrossFit, and I like to do CrossFit.
What motivated you to get into teaching?
What motivates me to teaching? Let me go back to my childhood. When I was a middle school or high school students, I was always tutoring my friends, especially in the subject in math. Like, I was very good at math, and I was able to explain the math to my friends. And when I was doing my PhD at North Carolina State University, one of the requirements was to, teach before we get our PhD degree. So I was very, very set to I was always told myself I'm not going to be in teaching area. I always want to go to private sector when I get my degree. But as a requirement, I had to teach principle of micro, and I did teach principle of macro, and I realized that teaching was my passion, and I was very pleased the outcome of my teaching, and I said, this is it. That's where I'm going to be. And when I was applying for a job, I didn't apply any of the private private sector. I apply all the university job, teaching job. That was it.
What separates your teaching style from other professors at the Langdale College of Business?
It's quite difficult to answer that question, because I would say there are plenty of great professors at the College of Business. They're really great. And I had a pleasure to actually observe a couple of them for their promotion and tenure process. And any of them could nominate for this position, for this the award. But I'm very honored to be part of the process. And I think I'm very passionate about my job, and I think other professors are very passionate about job. They're teaching as well.
So tell me about a time when you went out of your way for a student.
Let me talk about my study abroad experience. I have been teaching study abroad I have been offering study abroad program since 2012. I started the program offering to Turkey, and we did it like 4 years, and then in 2016 I switched the program to Germany and Czech Republic, and then last year I offered the program to Croatia, and this year as well to Croatia. What I observed that there are many students actually really wanting to go to study abroad, and they're very passionate about going to study abroad, but they didn't have enough the fund to support the program, support this event. So what I did, that especially a couple of the students, they were really lack of the fund. So I helped them to find external funds that can actually go to programs. And also there are families that the parents were not really happy for them to travel abroad. They were very scared. So I actually had a meeting with many of them in my office or even over the phone and convinced them, the study abroad is not a bad thing. It's actually a great opportunity. And I was able to convince the parents. So they all came through. So.
Do you engage yourself with students beyond the classroom setting, like showing support at campus events or mentoring?
I have been, and I'm still doing it. It's of course, it's part of our job, and I love to doing that. I had many students. I worked with many students on their, the research, and 3 students actually. I took them to national conferences. I worked on the research project with them. Actually, they presented their research at the national conferences, and one of them got the Best Paper award. And also, I was mentored many students on their, undergraduate symposium. Yes, I did, so I have been doing it.
How do you feel your course prepares students for the real world?
As I said, economics is for them is just very abstract, and I want them to understand that, that economics is basically what they use in every day, especially, for example, the opportunity costs. And so I try to make sure that they understand this complex issue, and they they use this complex issue in their life every single day. So I give them real life example, and then what's happening out in the world, and I said, look what's happening, and then this very much related to economics, or bring the business, the community, the people from business community. So have them talk about their experience and from the business perspective, and that's what. And also invite the visitors from abroad, and bring them that the global perspective in the classroom as well. So.
If you could give one piece of advice to your students, what would it be?
I would say never give up. Trust yourself, just never give up. There's not such a thing that's impossible. Everything is possible. Just put your mind and you'll be fine.
What do you plan to do when you leave teaching?
I think I will still continue on traveling, and traveling is my passion. I love traveling, and I'm coming from the international background, and I do teach international economics, and I always bring my international experience to classroom. And when I talk about the different countries, and I say, look, I had been in these countries, and this was happening, and it's bringing that aspect to the classroom. It's really valuable. But I would love to travel abroad and continue to travel, and I hope to continue exercising. That's what I would do.
What is one quote that inspires you and you feel like you attempt to embody?
I don't think there's any quote that I can actually have, but what really inspires me, that when I look back, and I think my parents, especially my dad, and I don't remember any day that he stopped believing in me. He always said, you'll be fine, you'll do it. And even I remember when I was having a hard time in my PhD program, because I failed in the first exam, and I said, oh gosh, I cannot make it. He said, you'll be fine, which I was fine. So I think my dad.
Okay, and last question. What is the most important lesson, educational or life, that you think students gain from you?
Educational gain, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, so an important lesson. It could be educational or just a life lesson maybe that you've taught them.
I think what maybe that is, I think I relate to study abroad, and I think what students really see is that this is it. This is the center of the world, but I think we open the horizon to the rest of the world, and they said there's a big picture out there, and this is not the only, the way of looking at life. I think that's what